Alex down. Today I'm going to be featuring a wine from a producer called Pegasus Bay. So Pegasus Bay is located down the South Island of New Zealand in a growing area called Waipara. And the Riesling that we're featuring is the Pegasus Bay 2008 Riesling. So, let's say 2008, it's got a few years in the bottle already. Certainly see that on the colour coming out there. But let's give this one a whirl. See what we can pick up on the beak first. That's a powerful aromas coming off there. Getting an initial hit of citrus, but then underlaying that like a sweeter grape. There's some more depth there. It's like an orangey, almost peachy honeycomb type aroma. Really enticing. Let's give it a whirl. See what we can pick up on the palate. Oh, wowzers! That is a really complex, unusual, but really nice wine. Okay, what's going on there? A lot is the answer. But more specifically, yeah, definitely getting the fresh flavours, some sort of sharpness there, some lime, some lemon. But what I'm getting more is in the mid palate is quite full. It's round, like stoned, like a nectarine, almost like a peach, but honeyed, like it's been glazed with honey. And I think one of the reasons for that is some of the grapes that have been used for this wine have been affected by Botrytis, and Botrytis is a type of rot that can affect grapes growing out there in the vineyard. And you may think, okay, this is the last thing that a winemaker would want, is for this rot to attack his grapes. But actually, this particular type of rot is really beneficial, especially with the Riesling grape, because what it does is it covers the surface of the grapes and splits them open and feeds off the grape juices. And so what's left is this dehydrated grape, but the sugars have been concentrated, so when you crush them, what comes out is a sort of nectar like honey, and it's just pure sweetness and fruit, and it's really beneficial to the winemaker because he can produce really incredible wines from it. So with this bottle, what they've done is they've used certain grapes that haven't been affected by it, and I think that's where this freshness, citrus-driven character is coming from. But they've also added some of the juice from these dehydrated grapes that have been affected by the rot, and that's where you get this amazing sort of complexity and honey-like sweetness. It's just off dry, I'd say. It comes in at 13%, and it's not a dessert wine. It's not like these ice wines or wine you get from Sauternes down in France, which also is they use the Botrytis affected grapes. It's definitely not. It's just off dry, but there's a lovely interplay with the acidity and the sweetness and this sort of honey nectar like quality. It's a really smart piece of winemaking, I think, and Matt Donaldson, the winemaker at Pegasus Bay, he has a real ability when it comes to the Riesling grape. Quick digression, but I think a really great example that shows what a great winemaker he is that a couple of years ago, a winery in New Zealand called Mudhouse Wines, they launched this idea called the Riesling Challenge. So what they did is they took grapes from one of their vineyard, so they were picked at the same time from the same vineyard, and gave these grapes to 12 different winemakers in New Zealand. These 12 winemakers then each had the challenge of creating a style of Riesling with these grapes, their own take on it. So they can make any type of Riesling they wanted, sweet, off-dry, dry, you name it. And Matt Donaldson was one of them. And those wines, once they were made, were put before a panel of judges in New Zealand, and the judges picked their favourite. Well, Matt Donaldson came out on top on that occasion, which clearly showed that he has an ability not only within his own winery, with his own vineyards and own grapes, but also has a real creative ability with other people's grapes. In this case, they've given to him by Mudhouse Wines. The following year, they ran the same exercise in London. So they had all of these 12 wines still bottled. They brought the bottles over to London for the New Zealand annual wine tasting, and let the attendees from London across the UK try each of these 12 wines, and again, vote on which was their favourite. And once again, Matt Donaldson's version came out on top. And it really does just show to me that he's got a lot of ability, and he really understands the Riesling grape and how to use it to get the best out of it. So as I say, this wine here, 2008, Pegasus Bay Riesling. It's unusual. You don't often get dry wines, or just off dry wines in this case, with Botrytis affected grapes in it. But it gives the wine a real complexity, it gives it depth, it gives it something unusual that you don't often find. So if that's something you're looking for and you're looking to try something a little bit different, this is really a top wine. I would seriously recommend it. So if you do go for it, I hope you enjoy it. I think you will. Cheers.